Good afternoon. It's good to be with you as always. And today I'm speaking on 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 16. The title for the talk that I've chosen is Don't Pass By on the Other Side. It's about seeing evil and then just covering it up. Let me read 1 Peter 2, verse 16 to you. It says this: Live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. Live as God's slaves. The danger in Peter's time was that there was much false religion, much abuse, much fear, and he was concerned that people would see evil and then walk away from it as if it were not there. In other words, they were covering it up, pretending that the evil was not there and ignoring it, choosing not to do anything. Well, it's really the same thing as just covering it over, isn't it? And people of the time may have thought, if they were Christians, well, I'm free, aren't I? I can do as I wish. And Peter says, yes, you live as free people, but don't use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. Live as God's slaves. Peter was wanting Christians to live outstanding lives, to be an example in a godless society. And in the verses surrounding this particular verse, he's urging them to respect authority, even to accept injustice when it befalls them. Just, for example, have a look at verse 18. However, he wasn't wanting them to see evil and then pass by on the other side. I heard only this morning of an example of a scam happening in Eastbourne, where a person was rung up. They were told that a group of people wearing full PPE were offering to come into their house and to check if their heir had COVID-19. Well, their intentions were quite evil and wicked. I heard on the news just the other day of a man who was infected with COVID-19. He spat at two ladies. I think they were from an ethnic minority. And he said to them, I've got the disease. And a few days later, both these ladies contracted the illness and died. What evil! If you want a quiet life, then you don't put your head above the parapet and speak out against evil, do you? Except that people like William Wilberforce did a huge amount of good. He didn't seek out a quiet life. He campaigned for the abolition of the slave trade for most of his adult life. Evil is really serious. We can't just ignore it. Jesus' death on the cross is a testimony to the seriousness of evil. Jesus hasn't just brushed over the evil in my life and yours. He died in your place and mine that we could be forgiven. But his death is a testimony to the seriousness of the evil for which he died. It was also a demonstration of his amazing love for us. God demonstrates his own love for us in this, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5, verse 8. Don't spurn Christ's love. Once we were slaves to sin, but now we're slaves to righteousness. We're slaves to truth, love, purity, justice, goodness, kindness, gentleness, hope, faith. We walk in freedom alongside Jesus. Now, the people of the ancient world were trapped. They had a false religion that believed in gods for this and gods for that. They had shrines and temples all over the place. They offered sacrifices here and there to appease this god and that god. But none of them had any assurance that their sins were forgiven. Jesus came to set us free, and he has set us free. But don't, as we're told in this verse, misuse your freedom to cover up evil and turn a blind eye to wickedness. We cannot take up every cause, but is there a context where you can be a good Samaritan and not pass by on the other side? Can you be a wise teacher in the teaching of truth? Can you be a campaigner against evil? In our own town, Christians have made a significant impact in the evils of homelessness, suicide, and through things like street pastors, the extremes of a clubbing culture. Many others besides, like Food Bank, People Matter, have tackled issues such as inequality and loneliness and unemployment. Being a slave to God involves nothing to fear, everything to gain, and it gives us an opportunity to help our world to be a more just and fair place. So as Peter says, do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. Live as slaves to God. And in so doing, there's much good that you can do. May God bless you. Thank you for listening.